Hi. In this lecture, we continue with creating the JPMC file layout. So in the last lecture, we have entered the DME tree properties. In this lecture, we will create the header segment for the file. This file is divided into three segments: the header section, header segment, payment records, and trailer record. Now, each of these segments can be grouped into segment group. Header segment is at level 1 and the payment records segment is at level 2. So payment record segment has to come below header segment. So for this, we have to create a segment group, and in this group, we will add the segment header and the segment payment records. So let us first create the segment group. Select DME tree properties, or right click, select create segment group, JPMC, save. Now select JPMC, right click, create segment as subnode. So the header will be a subnode of the segment group JPMC. Enter the name header, segment data output, end of segment, select the button define different settings for this segment, select carriage return and line feed. The other tab conditions we will discuss later in this lecture. So the segment header has been defined now. To this segment, we have to add the fields. So for this, let's look at our functional spec, which was prepared earlier. So in the as per the functional specs, we see in the header segment, the first field is a record indicator. This is alphanumeric, has a length of 2. It's mandatory, and the value in the field should be CI. Going back, select header, right click, select create element, name, record indicator, length is 2, type is character, which is alphanumeric, and then this is a constant value of CI. So in the mapping procedure, select constant. The other mapping procedures are structure field. In this case, we have to specify the structure table and the field in SAP from which the value should come in the field in the flat file. Reference to tree node. This is selected if there is another node in the flat file from where the value has to come in this field. Aggregation. This is selected in the case of trailer where aggregation will result in summation of the specified values. Exit module can be used when we want to develop a function module or when we want to use a standard module to retrieve value from the SAP. Own mapping items is again, within the element we can have sub-elements. Sub-elements are known as atoms, and if we are deriving a value from one of these sub-elements, then own mapping items has to be selected. So in this case, the value for this field is CI, which is a constant. So select constant, click the tab source, and enter the value CI. Save. The first field has been defined here. The next field is timestamp. Click the record indicator, first field, create element, name as timestamp, length is 14. Now this value for the timestamp is coming from the table system SYST and the field UZEIT. So here select in the mapping procedure, select structure field, go to tab source. In the structure, enter the structure SYST, and the field name UZEIT. Save. User identifier is not mandatory, so we are going to give a filler value here. User identifier. Also, let's look at the timestamp element. We have this field status, do an F4 here. So if 1 is selected, it's a mandatory field. If 2, it is an optional. Because this is a mandatory, we select the 1 here. Create element. This one is, third field is user identifier. Length of the field is 8. Being a non-mandatory, I am just leaving it as filler. Fourth field is the batch number. This is a number which will uniquely identify this payment file. Select user identifier, right click, create element, name is batch number, length is 4. It's a numeric in value, so select the numeric, and the value will come from this field FPAYHX. That is a structure, and the field name is CUN. It's a mandatory field. Save. With this, we have defined the header segment and its fields in the payment file. In the next lecture, we will move into the next segment, which is detailed records on payment records, and define the fields of payment records.